Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? My name is Tiffany Adams, and I am the program manager here with Calling All Crows. And I have the lovely Gina Jackson, co founder and co CEO of Return to the Heart Foundation, with us here tonight. She'll talk a little bit more about who she is in a moment. But I'm so excited to be here with you guys. So excited to have Return to the Heart Foundation with us for our second version of the Warrior Wednesday. So this is part number 2. If you missed the first part, you can still find it on the Calling Our Crows Facebook videos. And for those of you guys who don't know who Calling All Crows is, I'm going to tell you. Calling All Crows is a nonprofit organization that works in the intersection of music and activism. Yeah, music and activism. So what we do is we partner with different artists and community organizations to build a movement of music fans getting involved with social movements that impact the lives of women and girls. Calling Crows is so amazing. And today, the community organization that we are partnering with is Return to the Heart Foundation. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to Gina Jackson, who will tell us more about the organization and will help us through the rest of the show. Thanks.
Thank you, Tiffany. Yes, we are so glad to be in community with you and to be connected. This work is so important in supporting women and girls. We cannot do it alone. So, your allyship and your support means everything. I'm Gina Jackson, Hagani Nianara Binya, Western Shoshone and Ogallala Lakota. I am co-founder and co-CEO of the Return to the Heart Foundation. And if you don't know about Return to the Heart, please find us online. Our website is www.return, the number 2, heart.org. We are so pleased to be here. We are a new foundation that was created by Native women for Native women and girls. And we, had searched the landscape for, an organization like us, and there was none. So we dreamed it and created one ourselves. So it was co-founded by myself, Sara Eagle Heart, and Senator Red Dawn Foster. And we are just so glad to be able to uplift the amazing voices and perspectives and the wisdom and knowledge of so many Native women. We are going to feature some of our traditional helpers and healers, society fellows, and also share with you the new grant opportunity for our traditional helpers and healers, which is going to be launched. It's ready to go. We'll look for social media by tomorrow, and you'll have an opportunity to apply. If you are a Native woman who is here in the U.S. and you're interested in getting some support to the work that you're doing already, the work that you're visioning of doing, or even the work you're doing as a part of an organization, our funding that we're offering with this micro grant is not just for nonprofit organizations, but we're supporting individuals, because we know that so many times when you are passionate about your people and you're passionate about doing healing work, nothing's going to stop you. It doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be an organization that you belong to. You're going to do it because that's what's in your heart. And that's what we want to do, is to support that. So super happy that you're here with us for this Facebook live stream. We have some wonderful folks to share with you today. But, to get us started, we always like to open with purpose and with prayer. We have a song, an opening prayer song that I would like to introduce our singer, Rebecca Kirk. Going by Becca Lynn. She's an enrolled member of the Klamath tribe and descendant of Leech Lake Anishinaabe. Originally from Portland, Oregon, she resides in Oregon and spends time working as a music teacher and children's acting mentor. She is the co-founder of the nonprofit Native Youth Leading Native Youth, which is an organization that lifts up and supports up-and-coming Native youth leaders. She's also a talent manager representing talent from Portland, Chicago, and Canada. She's active within Native communities throughout the nation. She's a certified suicide prevention peer counselor and also a recipient of the National Unity Organization's 25 Under 25 Leadership Award. She travels giving motivational speeches. But one of the things, when I first met Becca, one of the things that was just so moving and so memorable about her is her voice and the beauty and the strength that she has when she prays these songs. It's amazing. So I just am so happy that she's with us to be able to share our opening song. Thank you, Becca. That was awesome. And so now Sara is going to share some words with you.
Happy Native American Month. My name is Sara Eagle Heart. I'm Ogallala Lakota, and I am co-CEO and co-founder of Return to the Heart Foundation. And I am excited to be here with you tonight with Return to the Heart on Warrior Woman Wednesday. And we're so glad that you could join us. Some of the things that have been on my mind as we enter Native American Month has been really thinking about the people that have made me Indigenous, have made me Lakota, have made me the woman that I am today. And one of those people is my aunt. My Auntie Mabel is a school teacher, has been for almost 30 years, has just been this incredible force in my family that has really taught me everything. When I was young, she took me to sundances. She, took me to my first sweat lodge ceremony. She helped me bead. She taught me everything, how to bead, how to do amulets, how to care for my own children. I mean, when I was struggling in college, she'd give me money for diapers. I mean, she was just this amazing woman. And right now she's struggling with cancer. And so one of the things that she talks about a lot is just neglecting her own health and how she wishes that she would have paid attention more and sooner to her own signals in her body. And it got me to thinking about COVID and post-COVID recovery and how we're in this moment where so many people are still getting COVID, right? But we have these incredible people in the middle of communities that are helping the recovery. And so one of the projects that I'm so excited that we have been able to support are projects like Traditional Helpers and Healers, Indigenous women that are in the center of their communities organizing, but they're also helping to give back, and they're helping all of us recover by supporting and building and creating these amazing projects that are really life-giving. And so when I think about the COVID recovery, I think about my own health, right? I had COVID in November, and it took me quite a while to figure out how to manage the fatigue and how to overcome it, really. And my whole diet changed, my body changed, and I craved different foods. I am now more of a flexitarian. I try to do less red meat. I eat way more vegetables and salads than I ever have, like literally salivate over salads, which that was never me before. But it taught me to take my own health seriously. And so I hope all of you are too, because, really listening to your body is important, especially for some of us that come from communities that struggle with health issues like diabetes and blood pressure, high blood pressure, and heart disease. I mean, we really need to start paying attention to ourselves. So I encourage all of you this Native American Heritage Month to do that. And then, I've been thinking about some of the lessons that I've learned, right, from these aunties. And one of the great things about this year, even though it's been a rough year for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, is that I've been able to spend more time with my own community and with my aunties, and learning more about some of the in-depth knowledge from our Lakota communities. And some of the things that one of the big like aha moments that I had this year was actually around, writing my book. I've been writing my book with my twin sister. It's a self-help book called Warrior Princesses Strike Back. We actually finished the manuscript in June, which I'm really excited about. We're in the middle of editing now. So it's due to come out next June, summer solstice of 2022, published by Feminist Press. And thank you so much to those that have supported us with this project. We couldn't have done it without you. And so we're in the midst of wrapping it up and doing the editing. And so I've been talking to my aunties and listening to stories about, values. And the aha moment that I got from one of my aunties, Auntie Etheline, in fact, two dogs. She's an Ironclad, and I'm a part of the Ironclad Tioshpae, the family, is that our Lakota values were actually not just values. Actually, values is a westernized term. They were in fact laws. And when I heard that, it really helped to bring home my own understanding of like what it means, because Lakota people are very experiential teachers. You learn a lot just by being in our community. You learn by watching, right? And so being a Lakota means that what you learn all of these lessons, really laws, you learn them by watching. So things like Wochekia, praying. Wochekia is, we pray to a higher power, whatever that is for you. And for us, it's Tenkashla, the Great Spirit. And, it's a direct connection to the Great Spirit, right? And so Wochekia happened every day, all the time. I mean, all of our prayers end with Madakuya Oyase. That's our Lakota amen. We literally say that all the time, meaning we're all related, we're all connected. And when you think about that lesson, it is something that, I think always reminded me that I had a connection and a responsibility to something bigger than me, to my community, to the two-legged, the four-legged, the winged, Mother Earth. And that was part for me of just being held accountable to my community as well. Wahwola, respect, respect is huge. Respect for a higher power, community, all of life. My grandma says that's one of her 4. She says she has 4. She threw in their integrity as well, which was really interesting because I think I grew up with such understanding that integrity was so important. Wa'unshala, compassion, caring for the elderly, the sick, the young ones, the old ones, the ones in mourning. And my Auntie Etheline said, back in the day, these were laws, there were consequences if you didn't follow these laws, right? I mean, part of that is showing compassion to one another and trying to help each other out. And I'm really glad that we get to do that at Return to the Heart Foundation, because nothing feels better than to help your own people. Honesty and truth with yourself, with a higher power, others. I think that one speaks for itself. Owokia, generosity and helping without expecting anything in return. You know what, when I was young, one of the things my family would do they expected you to help. No one had to tell you. You just, if you saw somebody that needed some help, you got up and you helped them. And if you didn't get up and help them, then you got to look. You got to look like, what are you doing? You need to get over there and help them. So you learned that, that's how you learned experientially that you had to help. And the other thing was like, you shouldn't expect a thank you. Like, no one's going to tell you thank you. Like, it was just like, it's expected. You help your family, right? So yeah, I think like that's a big one. Humility. We have a spirit. We're no better or worse than anybody else, but having humility is something that is so important, right? I grew up in a community that, we're all very poor in this community. I mean, Pioneer Indian Reservation has an 80% unemployment rate. My grandma was a teacher. She's also a school cook, a Head Start cook. And so my own tribal community, my grandma actually didn't make that much money, and somehow she was able to care for her 6 kids and, myself when my mom wasn't able to take care of me. And I always just learned humility. I think that's one of the greatest lessons that I learned growing up, is just that to be humble is a good thing, that, we look at the world like, how can we help one another? We're equal with each other, but also it's like we can grow, we can build, like we're the same with other people, like we're no less. I mean, for me, humility, it has been something that has really guided me in my life. And womxn wisdom. So with practice, with knowledge comes wisdom. And, I always think about our elders and how when I was younger, I used to say to myself, I'd have some elders and they just looked like nothing fazed them. Nothing made them upset. Nothing made them crazy. Like they didn't, like they had seen everything, they heard everything. And, that's wisdom. I mean, you could go to them and ask them anything and they would be able to guide you and tell you what to do in a very calm, loving, peaceful way, in a good way, tell you how to address whatever problems that you're having. And I think that, that's amazing, to be able to be at that level. And so someday I hope to reach that level. I think I'm almost there now. But we all have a long way to go. So I'm excited to share those laws with you, the Lakota laws. And I hope, this just helps you out with a good Native American Heritage Month. It brings you a little bit more knowledge that you didn't have before. You take care of your own health and post-COVID. You're welcome to donate to us. We have a lot of different donors that come to us on Act Blue, or funders that come and support all of the projects that we're doing. And any little bit helps. So we appreciate the work, the support that you give to us so that we can help others return to the heart. And for us, that's what it's really about, is really returning to the heart, remembering yourself, remembering, the Great Spirit, keeping all of each other in prayer, remembering that we're all related, we're all connected. And yeah, Madakuya Oyase, we will keep praying for you, and we hope you keep praying for us.
Thank you, Sarah, so much for sharing. Going back to our values are everything to Indigenous people. And even in philanthropy, there's a new movement called trust-based philanthropy. And basically that's flipping traditional philanthropy, flipping the script and going back to values. And for us, it's our traditional values. And that's why we started Return to the Heart, because we weren't seeing that being walked out, and we weren't the rematriation, lifting and centering Native women voices and girls, we weren't seeing that, and we needed to have that done. So super thankful for your really, insightful and important words, Sarah. And I'm also excited to introduce our next person on, who is one of our, I mentioned the traditional helpers and healers. We also have fellows, our society fellows, and this is an alumni. It's Ray Zaragoza. She's an award upon award winning, just won another award this year, singer and songwriter who carries an acoustic guitar with really powerful messages. She did a song called In the River that was written in response to the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline near Standing Rock in North Dakota, which had more than 1 million views, national media coverage, Global Music Awards, and Honesty Oscar. She released just lately last year a woman in color, which is one of my favorites. I'm so lucky to have it. Thank you so much, Ray. But today I asked if she would share some music, and I actually requested this song because I love it. Having that Indigenous women voice and those views, because of colonization and because of the devaluation of Native peoples in general, but even specifically women, the world missed out on Indigenous knowledge that, would have saved us from the conditions we are in today, especially around climate issues. But Ray brings us back up when it comes to getting voices out there and just, really representing and, just being this young, vibrant, amazing artist. And we love Ray. We're so proud of her. And so I'm so happy to introduce the It Girl.
Could tell I was living in a world that wasn't made for brown-skinned girls. Just you wait, it'll be your turn. And in the mirror I would say to her, I could be the it girl, can't you see? I could be the face on the magazine. Paint me like a debutante, your prom queen. Pretty little it girl, yeah, that's me. Do you ever feel like everywhere you go, you're just an act in the sideshow? Just a friend, a second thought. It's time you give them everything you got. I could be the it girl, can't you see? I could be the face on the magazine. Paint me like a debutante, your prom queen. Pretty little it girl, yeah, that's me. Why would you wanna be like anybody else? You're better off just being yourself. Why don't you look into the mirror and say, I wouldn't want you any other way? But I could be the it girl, can't you see? I could be the face on the magazine. Paint me like a debutante, your prom queen. Pretty little it girl, yeah, that's me. I could be the it girl, can't you see? I could be the face on the magazine. Paint me like a debutante, your prom queen. Pretty little it girl, yeah, that's me. Pretty little it girl, yeah, that's me. Pretty little it girl, yeah, that's me. I don't give a shit, girl, yeah, that's me.
Thank you. I love that song. All right. So next up, I want to introduce you to Kara Big Crow. She's one of our traditional helper and healer grantees. And we asked her, to share some some information about her work. Kara was born and raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. She's an enrolled member of the Ogallala Sioux tribe and an active member of the Wakami district. She's the mother to 3 talented sons, 3 beautiful daughters, and is an honored descendant of Chief Crazy Horse and a proud member of the Kangitanka Big Crow Tuwahe. Kara is a executive assistant for the Freedom Lodge, and she has participated in many healing and self-help trainings over the past years, including basic advanced mind-body medicine, as well as historical trauma and healing with Dr. Ruby Gibson. Kara strongly believes that healing oneself is essential to live a healthy life, and believes that healing ourselves from the inside out, we will help future generations prosper. So she is walking out those beliefs and values by doing her project that she's going to share about right now.
Hi, my name is Cara Big Crow. I am the director at Freedom Lodge. I'm an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our project specifically serves Native American women. We do work with Native American men, but our goal is to help heal Native American women. At this time, it's needed because we're at a turn. Our generations have been so impacted by the intergenerational trauma, the historical trauma, and our women and our men are so wounded. The women have now become the leaders in the family, the workers, the doers, and still taking on our roles as mothers and as teachers, as teaching our children to care and be emotionally intact. So we've taken on a double role. And so if we can learn to do that in a better way, heal ourselves first, we can ensure better futures for our children. How has my work been affected by COVID? Well, it hasn't. It's actually enabled us to get a more broad reach of everybody. We now have people from Canada, from Mexico, from Hawaii, from all different places that we weren't able to reach before because we were in person. We were providing everybody the opportunity to travel, to meet with us in person. But now with COVID, we are able to hold everything online, which is really great because we have people in class that we wouldn't necessarily have if we hadn't gone online. The impact that Return to Heart has had on my work is it's actually given me more resources, given me a better look at who needs help and what other resources are out there in my community. It's also allowed me to work with a lot more youth this time around, to bring them to me, to help them deal with some traumas that are inside or deal with their emotional well-being. I'm looking ahead to a future where mothers are nurturing their children, where families are talking. That's the big thing, is talking, having that openness in the family, having that trust, building a solid foundation inside the family. Of course, everybody's important in the family, but the mothers are it for us. They control everything. And as long as we can be well in our own well-being and have our own solid foundation, we're able to give that outward and give that forward. And we look forward to our work rippling into our future generations. That's what I'm looking forward to. On behalf of Freedom Lodge, I'd like to offer a big thank you to everyone for the support of Return to Heart. Wopila Tonka, my heart is full. Widakayase.
Thank you. Yeah, we are so appreciative of her work that she is doing. And we have so many others that are just doing amazing work. So if you're interested in partnering with us to support traditional helpers and healers, please go to our website and you can see the links to learn more about the project and also to donate to Return to the Heart so that we can support even more amazing women like Kira. So next up, I'm excited to have another Society Fellow, and this is Candy Brings Plenty. Candy is queer, indigenous, non-binary, two-spirit Oglala Lakota. She's a protector of the and sacred protector of the sacred and activist for indigenous justice. She continues to travel through Turtle Island, sharing her experience as a two spirit water protector at Standing Rock while elevating traditional methods of trauma healing. Because of the intersections between resource extraction and violence against Indigenous women and Two Spirit peoples are seldomly discussed in mainstream social justice movements, Candy, she brings awareness as an activist for Indigenous women and Two Spirit communities facing the brunt of settler colonial violence, including exocide, genocide at a global scale. Candy is a direct descendant of Crazy Horse's band and who is a survivor of Wounded Knee Massacre. She currently lives in the Black Hills in Rapid City, South Dakota, where she works as the first ACLU's Indigenous Justice organizer for South Dakota, North Dakota, and the Wyoming region. Candy, so happy to have you with us. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm Betty Washday. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know that, one of the things, as Native people, it's so important for us to, introduce ourselves. And when we hear that language, it's like music to our ears. So I'm going to go ahead and just, even though I gave you a long introduction, allow you to say a few words of introduction for yourself.
Definitely. Hey Matakiapi, Leampe Tukile, Iyo Hachante, Washday Nape Chuziapie. Imachiapi, Wakia Tuampi, Iyo Yampawi, Imachiapi, Chante Makielawi, Mi Washichu Chajekile, Candy Brings Plenty. I'd like to greet each and every one of you with a handshake from my heart. And I introduced myself with the traditional protocol in my Lakota language. I also introduced myself with both of my Lakota names, Bright Lightning Woman and Woman Close to My Heart. And I also said my colonizer name is Candy Brings Plenty. Mm-hmm. So I also want to acknowledge and identify as a queer, indigenous, non-binary two-spirit.
Thank you. So, Candy, this is an important week and this is an important time. And I asked you on specifically because 1 year ago, that was the first time I had ever heard of the Trans Day of Remembrance. All of us, may know, people who have experienced violence and, unfortunately, death. And when I had first heard about this, I'm like, everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to know. And yes. So that's one of the reasons why I asked you back is because, it's so important. We have, if we're not raising this awareness, who is, So please, if you wouldn't mind, share a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, my background comes from doing a lot of Two-Spirit visibility work and activism work throughout Turtle Island, and also specifically during the Standing Rock No Dapple protest when I was the founder and lead of the Two-Spirit Nation camp. And, at that time, we were able to plant seeds with a lot of our water protector siblings and tribal political leaders and grassroots leaders to open that, there's been this colonial violence that has eradicated our sacred roles as two-spirit people. And also, non-binary folks and trans people in the colonial terms have always been a part of the spectrum of being two-spirit. In every language in all 580 plus tribes solely just in the United States, and that's not including our northern relatives in Canada or our indigenous siblings down in Mexico. Each tribal nation has their own language, and we each have documented language for that spectrum of two-spirit people. And so with colonialism, it created that violence, which has been perpetuated specifically to trans women of color. So every year there's an acknowledgement to bring awareness that there is this hate and violence that is still among us. And it's not to be in such a derogative position It's actually to remember the beauty of these people who were taken from us too soon, to take a day to remember. And every year it's on November 20th, and it's called Trans Day of Remembrance, or TDOR. And this week specifically is called Trans Awareness Week. So, and under that trans spectrum, there is that non-binary. And I do identify as non-binary, but I absolutely embrace and identify with my Lakota matriarchal identity and that role that I walk as a mother bear to my 2 baby bears. So, with this year, we had the highest number since, 1999, when Theodore was first founded as a holiday of remembrance. And so this year there was 46 trans siblings or non-binary folks who were murdered, and 2 of them were Two-Spirit. One of them was Poe Black, and I say their name to acknowledge them and their beauty, to remember them. They were a trans man who identified as Two-Spirit in California. There was another person who was non-binary, indigenous, from Pennsylvania, and their name was, or their chosen name was, Whispering Wild Bear Medicine. So to say their name as well, and to, embrace empowering their spirit and their beauty as their chosen self. So thank you for taking this time and for allowing us from Return to the Heart to empower our Lakota virtues, as Mashke Sarah was sharing with us in our language and in English, interpreting it for us. So this is part of that compassion and, that Wachente Ognake, definitely that generosity coming from the heart, which this foundation has, attributed a big impact to me as well, to build the sisterhood and to continue feeling what it means to work in our Lakota culture, our spirituality, our protocols, and to build medicine with that. So Wopila Tonka, Gina, and to the Return to the Heart Foundation.
Thank you, Candy. One last question. So, what if folks who are watching today or tomorrow, even next week, the weeks after, and the time to come, what if they wanted to be supportive? What can they do?
Well, definitely, first of all, educate yourself on pronouns and what it means to honor a person's experience within their gender and their orientation. And so, that is part of embracing and decolonizing our circles, because it was through colonization and assimilation where homophobia and transphobia was introduced to our indigenous sacred circles. So, just decolonize those circles, acknowledge people and acknowledge their gender roles, and take time to educate yourself on what it means to be a transgendered identified person, or persons who are non-binary. Take that time to educate your children so you can empower them to embrace each other as relatives.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. Big hugs. I'm so glad to see you. And maybe someday we'll actually see each other in person. I keep waiting for this to be over.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, have a great evening.
You too. Wopila Tonka.
All right. Well, so far it's been a great night, and we've had lots of wisdom and some fun, some beauty, and some really important awareness that we all need to have. But lastly, I want to just talk a little bit about, next week we have Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is something that is always, it strikes Native people in many ways, mostly bad, because number one, it's the stories that we hear are not true. It's one perspective, and it's just whitewashed. It's not exactly what happened, and it's paints a pretty picture that was for indigenous people. There's some tribes who call it a day of mourning, being like one of the beginnings, celebrating the beginning of the destruction of so many of our peoples. For some individuals and families, who grew up and maybe not necessarily knowing so much of the individual history, because we were raised here in the US education system. So we're in classrooms where teachers are and hopefully cross my fingers, it's not happening this week, but so many times that the teachings that are out there are just so inappropriate and so disrespectful for Native people. And yet we have families who, of course, you get 2 days off, you're going to be together as much as possible. And last week, Morningstar Galley shared about the sunrise ceremony at Alcatraz Island. And if you're interested in that, I see there's still tickets left. So, that's something, it would be an amazing experience. For me personally and our family, we take any opportunity to gather and come together, whether that's, a birthday party, a graduation, any celebration or any day off. We always try to come together. And so, being able to be together, during this holiday, is something that we're going to do. But one of the things that really caught my ear just a few years ago was something that an Indigenous activist, Christine Nobis, had shared, and that was taking Thanksgiving, which a time for food and celebration, giving thanks, as a time for, of course, you can do the food and giving thanks, but also some truth giving. And whether you're a native, indigenous, non-native, no matter who you are, where you're at, maybe take that time, during that family gathering to talk about the true history, what has happened to Native people, who are the Native people here today? What's their status? Like, how are they doing? Are you in an area where, folks have been completely disseminated, or maybe they're there, but they're invisible because they're not being seen? Or take an opportunity to think of what could you do to be supportive to Indigenous people. There's folks in like California who are doing some voluntary land tax, and amazing, wonderful. There's folks who are looking at their estate planning and in their wills doing planned giving and giving land back to tribes that was taken, maybe it was taken 5 generations ago, but, here they are today and they're willing to give back. So, here we are, next week is coming up, and I just challenge you, to see what you can do to, support the resilience and the amazingness of Native people, especially Native women and girls. And, come to our website and learn more at returntoheart.org.
Wow, wow, wow. That was so amazing, so inspiring, so much information and so educational. And guys, I really hope that you listened to something, that you learned something, and that you will commit to learning more, and that it doesn't just end after you hear this live. Really go to returntheheartfoundation.org and learn more. Stay connected. And if you're like, what can I do? Well, Gina Jackson just told you, truth giving. Let's not let next week just be a week of harm, but let's actually do something. Something as we may think is so small, but could be so profound as telling the truth. Truth giving. I love that so much, Gina. And thank you so much for the last couple Warrior Wednesdays. They have been amazing. I have learned so much, and I'm committed to continue to learning about it, because it is something that our system has sugarcoated or lied and tried to keep us from this information, just like they do for so many different issues, etc. So I'm just thankful that we could partner with you guys and that this could happen. And I can't wait to continue to work with Return to the Heart Foundation in the future, because you guys are doing some amazing work. Amazing work. So thank you so much for partnering with Calling Our Crows. Thank you so much for the Warrior Wednesdays and educating and inspiring people to learn more. You are amazing, and I'm so excited to have had this time to learn. And audience, I hope you are excited to have had this time to learn. Thank you again, Gina. And we'll see everyone at the next time we do a programming. Have a great night.
Abishai.